What is a teacher? Well, a teacher in the paradigm we live now is someone that can manage a group of learners to achieve some standard set of learning outcomes using a myriad of pedagogical strategies to do so. Now, it involves being a human person to do that. The fact is, though, a teacher is quickly being redefined. Whether we like it or not, a teacher is being redefined. And in many respects, one of the primary movers and shakers of this redefining what a teacher is has been gaming. Because, one of the first games out there were simulations. And, in many respects, a simulation or a game is teaching you how to fly. And from there, the whole, what they called strategic gaming or serious gaming evolved. And a lot of it, in many respects, evolved out of the military and learning. And really, in many respects, they're the pioneers. But in pretty much every online game, whether it's WoW or Ultima Online or anything else, you don't have anyone teaching you to be that class or to be that skill set or to make it through a dungeon or anything else. You do that via community of learners. You do that on your own. You figure it out. And, and the whole idea of a teacher is evolving to ultimately mean some code. Now, the fact is, there's a great example of a teacher, or going to be a teacher. Maybe he doesn't know it, but maybe his offsprings will be, and that'd be Lion's Head Milo. And let's watch Lion's Head Milo, I'm going to call Milo, for a little bit interact with his cohort. Now, the question I want to ask you is what Milo is going to be doing in 5 years. I mean, will he be teaching Africa? Will he be teaching Asian kids how to speak English? The reality is there's really no reason why he couldn't, with some additional technology added to him, which I would argue has already been established and invented, and that is the technology from Emotive, EEG. Now, what makes this technology very exciting is what it allows us to do is to, in essence, train the brain, which you could do with games, with a youngster, very easily, to understand what the brain, very simple tasks. So, it will understand like and dislike, reaction, and so on. And that technology added to Milo is going to greatly enhance, AI. And even though it's going to be kind of magic, it's not going to be true AI, but you're going to think that it is because it's going to trick you to think that it is. Because, for example, it can ask a question, and before you can even react to it, it's going to know the reaction within the EEG signature, and it's going to respond, and it's going to be like sentient. You're going to go, wow, Milo knows what I'm thinking. Now, think of the applications with a 2-year-old, or a 3-year-old. You don't need a sophisticated AI to teach a young child. And the fact is, what we need for a platform for global education and, for the AI to teach is really rudimentary. So a teacher is going to change. And the first teachers that, are starting to come to market. Now, one of the key things that's going to make this online teaching a reality is something called a learning engine. Now, the funny thing is if you go to Wikipedia and look up the learning engine, there's nothing there. Now, I added actually a link. I try to write something on mobile learning engine, but here's one of the problems with Wikipedia. Anything that's cutting edge, that is pretty much on the cusp of technology, is not is not taken seriously. So unless it's been in some journal, and I don't know, maybe there is, maybe some academic out there could actually do me a favor and do a piece on learning engines. And maybe I'm sure there's been some research, but for God knows some reason it has been put on to Wikipedia. It needs to be. Learning engines are probably the most important component for flattening global education. Now again, the good news is we have a very rudimentary learning engine with, patented IP. And that learning engine is there for you to try out and use. And again, think of the learning engine as the TV of the 1950s. Now, it needs a lot of work, but it's there. The fundamentals is there. And that is the Cerigo Smart FM learning engine. And you can go to smart.fm. Now, that's not a radio station. It took me a long time. It's funny. I've got a little funny story here. I went to an under conference, and this guy kept talking about Smart FM. And, I'm dyslexic. So I'm thinking, radio station? Why is he talking radio? I mean, I don't want to, embarrass, dude, we're talking education here, and you're talking about some radio station. So I swear, for 30 or 40 minutes of him talking, and he's like, and I'm nodding, and I'm thinking, it's just like radio. What, it's not a radio. It's FM, I don't, maybe if I would have known about Last FM, I would have known it was a website. So Smart FM, go there. It's an English language learning engine. It can teach you anything, pretty much. You just need to create the learnable objects and deliver it. And there's a lot of, it's rudimentary, but the important stuff is there. It knows when to retest you. It keeps track of your learning. Those are some of the fundamental aspects of a learning engine. It's like a search engine. It's like cookies in a search engine, remembering where you've been, what you've done, what you've bookmarked, but on the individual sense. Since there isn't a lot written on learning engines, pretty much everything I have in my head is I know what it needs to do. So that's what the platform needs to happen. So we have the learning engine. So that's going to play an important role as a teacher because, regardless how you cut education, I love, Sir Ken. Sir Ken is in this latest video, and I can't do a British accent, or I would. And I look at Sir Ken as a mentor of mine, even though he never returns any of my emails. Well, he did at first, but then I think he thought I was a loony and he stopped. But I still love him, and I love the points that, and this is pretty much a direct quote from the latest movie or documentary of about education. And I can't think of the guy who did it. But he says, education is complicated business. And if it wasn't, we would have had a solution for it by now or something to that extent. So the thing is, education isn't complicated. We make it complicated. Education is really simple because if a 2-year-old could learn, I'm sorry, what is complicated about that? The fact is, there are aspects of education, and we need to understand education. And I think for some reason, teachers and professionals, especially academics, want to obfuscate. They want to make their job seem more important than what it is, and seem difficult and everything else. But in the bottom line is education is easy. The 2-year-old could learn, anyone could learn. And the same principles and operations that a 2-year-old learned, which is really, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a cycle of basically play and failure. Play and failure. Try and failure. Succeed, try again, repeat. Watch a 2-year-old, he will sit and watch a movie over and 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 over, because he's digesting it. The brain is geared that way for 2-year-old, and we should take advantage. There's no reason. Kids in the States don't start until 4 years old. Kids are geniuses. We need to plug them into a learning system that will take advantage because we're busy, and and I tell you, technology will do a lot better job than any teacher for a 2-year-old. So now I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from all, and I teach young kids. So there's a balance between the two. And I'm not saying, hey, forget the teacher, just give him an iPhone. I wish I had, I need to get my other camera up because I want to shoot some video of my son on my iPhone. I've not taught him anything. I have not done anything. I've shown him a little bit, how to move. That's it. But he can navigate the iPhone. He can start applications. He can go in the setting. He's 2 years old. He can adjust the setting, come out of the setting, play the game, get bored, shuffle through videos, watch a video, move. I mean, you know, and I have to start fighting for my iPhone. My 2-year-old son is now fighting for my iPhone. So the topic here was teaching. And so, you know, code is going to end up teaching. Teaching is going to change significantly in the next 5 to 10 years. And, you know, that's a reality we all have to face.